What will happen to Palantir if a recession happens?
He says, what I would tell any entrepreneur that thinks they're going to disrupt, you have to be 20 times better, at least.
Now everyone is scared of a recession. Let's say a recession happens.
This is what happens. Nobody has any more money. Stocks go down. Palantir loses clients. The net dollar retention goes down. We're all toast. We're all broke.
Yeah, this is what
jobs at Burger King. Tell me, am I wrong?
This is what the market is implying. If you have a business that is not affected, but the stock price is heavily affected, minus 50% or more, like Palantir from the beginning of the year is minus 70%. So a big drop fueled by inflation, recession, stagflation, why not? I mean, the Asian names always make people scared. But you have a deep understanding of the company. And you know that first, the company has recurring revenues, contractual revenues, which means once they're contracted, the clients really can't go away. So at least for a couple of years, the bookings are there. Palantir will get those revenues. But in the case of Palantir, we even know that, well, of course, if you studied it deeply, you can understand that the solutions they have help businesses navigate these difficult times. Because it is with tech that you can maximize your business opportunities and save costs where you can identify them. It's only about tech. And that is what is reinforced also by Salesforce and ServiceNow CEOs, which both did interviews pushing that tech is the only...
Jim Cramer too, we got to give him credit too. Jim Cramer said the same.
That is actually what we should be scared of. When I'm agreeing with Jim Cramer on tech being in reality counter-cyclical. But I believe here is the big opportunity, because when you have a company, a sector that is counter-cyclical by nature, but the stock prices are heavily cyclical, which means when the fear of recession is out, asset managers like chickens don't want to have Apple just because of a label of technology, you have the opportunity. And a great example of that, a clue from the past, is from Salesforce history. Salesforce was listed for few years when the great financial crisis in 2008 happened. Minus 70% in very few months, maybe 3 months. And if you saw the price, you would have thought, okay, this company must have gone almost bankrupt in that period. I mean, minus 70% is huge. And the starting multiples were not that high. Actually, they were similar to the multiples of Palantir right now. Imagine that. So it went from enterprise value to sales, EV sales, from 8 to 2 in like no time. And you look at the balance sheet, the company went 3x revenues in that period from 2007 to 2011. So the worst of the crisis, they grew completely fine. True, the size was relatively small, but their size was very similar to the actual size of Palantir right now. So I believe Salesforce is a clue to what could happen to Palantir. Because true, the business itself is different in terms of product, but the essence, the business structure is identical. Recurring revenues from big contracts, needing and trying to provide software that helps the operations go. A company without client resource management, client relationship management, CRM, can't really go nowhere. You need Salesforce to generate new business opportunities. And in the same way, you need Palantir to protect your back when things get very bad, because you need to maximize output and save cost. So Salesforce went minus 70% in 3 months. It recovered in less than 1 year, and from that bottom is now, after more than 10 years, plus 3,000%, despite a 40-50% drop from the beginning of the year. I mean, that is insane. Why? Because the company kept growing. You have the business that is incredibly stable, keep growing, actually benefiting from other companies suffering from many sectors, and you have the stock price dropping. I believe with Palantir we are in a similar position. There are many hints, and we will see better in the Q2 results.
And this is why you referred in the past to Palantir as a bond, correct? With steady growth, reoccurring clients, and those clients growing slowly.
Yeah, you can argue that. Well, I noticed this thing now that Palantir is recognized as the SaaS company with biggest deal value. Now people say, "Oh yeah, but that is not positive. It means that they are too concentrated." That is true. They have relatively few clients, but if tiny little Palantir with 1 billion and 5 revenues can have such big clients, among those few clients, while Salesforce, despite the bigger scale, despite being in almost every company in the world, can't achieve that level of deal size, it means that someone here has a much stronger value proposition that is not clearly appreciated yet. And as we said, it's always easier to go down market rather than scaling up. For Tesla, after having succeeded with a Model S, it's way easier to sell a Model 3 rather than for Fiat now selling a Cabrio. I mean, who would like to have a Fiat Cabrio high-end at $70,000? I mean, it's like, that sounds ridiculous. But on the other way around, is easier because you are established as a brand. You know that you can achieve a very high-spending clients, and then you can scale to all the clients gradually. And that is actually what Palantir is doing, starting from the most difficult problems to solve, get the clients that can pay you really a lot, develop the archetypes, and then scale these archetypes to the biggest number of clients they can have. So up to now, it will be not really a problem if we will see the average deal size value decreasing in the short term, because right now they are getting a lot of clients and that should be their priority. But the difference between Palantir and many other SaaS companies is that we know that with Palantir, a potential good client can get to 100 million revenues per year, while neither Salesforce and ServiceNow can achieve that. The biggest clients of Salesforce pay Salesforce less than the biggest clients of Palantir, despite its a tiny size and very little brand recognition up to now. In markets, you don't make money if you're right on what will happen. You make money if you pay so little so that even that bad thing happens, it is worse than expected, as we said before, which means there is some value to be recognized. Right now, Palantir is perceived as risky because of the inflation narrative, sell growth because growth is risky, when in reality growth is the only thing that can save you from inflation. And if you have a stock that is going down massively, minus 70% from the beginning of the year, while the business keeps growing like Salesforce, it will be only a matter of time that value will be recognized. And in some quarters, people will see, recession, but Palantir kept growing, no. Regardless.
Yeah.
Then people say,
It's crazy. It's unbelievable.
I mean, seems so stupid, seems so simple. Obviously, it's not that simple when you are involved, and is simple when you are aware of how the business model works, why it works that way. But the mental part is actually the most difficult thing, because you can study the business very well. That is a mistake I did many times in the past, studying the company very well, but then making stupid decisions because are affected by my mental thoughts. And that is the worst you can do. If you need to, like, if you want to make mistakes, mental mistakes, at least don't waste time in studying the company much. Because if you study the company much, you waste a lot of time, and then you make stupid decisions. So you make two errors in one.
Yeah.
If you want just to gamble, at least don't waste your time.